Over the centuries, commanders have blazed their own trail, exploring, trading, running missions, engaging in combat. But a new breed of commander has recently sprung up, commanders who choose to spend their careers on foot. In this series, we follow the fortunes of one such commander and provide helpful hints to those who will follow, in the Commander's Guide to the Galaxy. The galaxy is a very, very big place. If you take all the places you've ever visited, even that trip to visit Uncle Rupert in Perth, Australia, and imagine trying to fit all those places inside the galaxy, you might be surprised to find that all those places would fit comfortably and with plenty of space left over. In fact, that space is really what you notice in the galaxy. There really is rather a lot of it. If God had been a little more sparing on the space, then everything would have been conveniently closer together, including Uncle Rupert, and we wouldn't have had to spend anything like as much time mucking around with supercruise and frameshift drives and sitting in metal tubes for hours at a time, only to find that your destination really isn't all that much different from home, except for the venomous snakes, the deadly spiders, and the man-eating crocodiles, which are all things you might think you'd be better off without. And then there's Uncle Rupert, of course. But we don't talk about him. Not anymore. When you graduate from your basic training, which seems to involve powering up a base, stealing data and shooting a lot of bad guys, this huge galaxy has a lot of potential, but it is also a huge galaxy. Where to start? That's the problem faced by Commander Teela Loren. Having had his first and only ride in a Cobra Mark IV and dumped unceremoniously at Chamberlain's Rest without a ship and determined to make his own way in the galaxy, the possibilities seemed endless. But it was news from the Brewer Corporation that caught Commander Loren's eye. On the 6th of January 3308, the Brewer Corporation announced that the string of megaships between the Bubble and Colonia, known as the Colonia Bridge, would be supplemented by 6 starports, offering a wide range of services to travellers and providing a home for the many new communities that the corporation expected to spring up in those systems. This sounded perfect. Rather than being a tiny fish in a huge bubble, Commander Loren could be a big fish in a tiny pool, taking mercenary missions, helping out settlements, fighting against evil, and helping to make these remote starports better places. This was a challenge that Commander Loren was up to. This was the way forward. This was his destiny. Commander Loren would head out to the frontier worlds. The closest station was Zarice Station at Colonia Bridge 4 in Pru Yuk WO-D B53-8, only a little over 1,000 light-years outside the bubble, and that's where Commander Loren decided to go. After hitchhiking the 1,000 light-years to Zarice Station and arriving in a green Asp Explorer piloted by a Commander Beetlejude, Commander Loren was excited to see what opportunities there'd be in this brand new system with its brand new starport suitable for pioneers. This would be proper trailblazing, not following in the footsteps of all those thousands of commanders in the bubble. First task, get a suit and take a mission. An Artemis suit seemed like a good choice, an opportunity to make some credits powering up settlements and transporting data and equipment. The mission givers seemed a bit taciturn. Perhaps they didn't want to give missions to such an inexperienced commander, so Loren headed over to the mission board, and that's when the horrible reality struck. There were no missions, none. Nothing to do to earn credits. He headed over to Frontline Solutions. Perhaps being a gun for hire was the best bet to get set up. It wasn't. Nothing doing in mercenary circles in this system. Exploration wasn't an option without a ship, of course, so perhaps Loren should take an Apex to somewhere else and try his luck there. And it was when he arrived at the Apex shuttle desk that he realised the problem. There was exactly one other place to go, and that was the Colonia Bridge megaship, Danieros Serenity. There were no surface bases, no outposts, no settlements. Brewer Corporation had been lying. The Colonia Bridge, or at least this part of it, was no good at all for making a living. Loren desperately searched the Apex departure board for shuttles to a neighbouring system, only to realise that there were no inhabited neighbouring systems. There was no way out. His lift, Commander Beetlejude, had disappeared the moment he disembarked. There were fleet carriers in the system, but without a ship, Commander Loren was unable to visit them. Apex had exactly one destination, and when you went there and found the mission boards equally bereft of content, there was only one place to go, and that was back here, Zerai Station. Commander Teela Loren, the on-foot commander, was trapped with no means of escape. The only option, taken reluctantly, was to borrow that Sidewinder he'd been promised, do the flight training, and see what sort of mission he could make as a pilot out here in the boondocks of space. I mean, he could make a decent profit mining, couldn't he? Surely. Tune in next time for the next exciting adventure of the Commander's Guide to the Galaxy.